CPA here. Hope you're doing well. For those of you that have been tuning into my channel for a long time, thank you, love you. Those of you that are new, thank you, love you. Thanks for coming to watch and subscribing. Why should you wait for the PPP forgiveness? Oh my gosh, JJ, here we go again. What? So what I've indicated all along is that if you want to do it, go for it, but I'm waiting. I'm telling my clients to wait. All I can do is give you information that's consistent with what I'm telling my clients. As I've been telling you recently, these videos are for my clients to watch. You're in essence listening in. It's been proven so far smart to wait for those that have employees. They're paying for W-2. So this wouldn't apply for the self-employed Schedule C, Schedule F filer. But if you're a 1065, 1120S, or a Schedule C and you got PPP, you're probably waiting for the new PPP forgiveness certification. If it's 150,000 or below, good, wait. It's above 150,000, probably going to see an updated or new PPP forgiveness application. But here's why you want to wait. If you have employees, you most likely qualify for this employee retention tax credit. Just go to my page on my YouTube, click on the videos. You're going to see all of my videos chronologically. Find the ones on the ERTC, the Employee Retention Credit, for more information on that. But know this, whatever you paid your employees while you were shut down, 50% of that is a tax credit up to $5,000 per employee. It's retroactive. We now can take the ERTC even if we got PPP, where previously we did not. But check this out. Here's why you want to wait to file for forgiveness. We need the SBA guidelines and the IRS as well to chime in on both of these. PPP for the SBA, IRS on the ERTC. Because when you read the law as it relates to PPP forgiveness, the wages that would qualify for forgiveness, if they are also wages that are during a time period that they would also qualify for the employee retention credit, you have to, according to the law, make an election to clearly indicate that you are not including the wages that qualify for the employee retention credit in the wages that you're using for PPP forgiveness. Now you may say, well, JJ, does it matter if we got 150,000 or less? Isn't it just a sign-off certification? Well, the paperwork's a sign-off certification, but you still have to certify a correct amount of PPP forgiveness. When you put that number down, it's not just now, well, I got 150,000 or less, here's what I got, here's my forgiveness amount. Wrong. You have to figure out what your forgiveness amount is. It has to include, obviously, then payroll. It has to include 60% in whatever amount you are asking for forgiveness. You take that amount has to include 60% of payroll costs. I'm telling you right now, for employers that have 100 or less employees, 99% of you qualify for this tax credit. If you have over 100 employees, you probably qualify for this tax credit if you paid employees that couldn't come to work or telework when we were shut down. Bottom line is that everybody that's a small employer qualifies for this employee retention tax credit. However, if you file for forgiveness without making this election, how do we make the election? We don't know yet. It may just be that we document something. It may just be a declaration. It may be a, hey, this is what we meant to do. We don't know. But if you want it done right, if you want it done to the nth degree, if you don't want a hiccup, if you don't want to have a technicality and you're now unable to take an employee retention tax credit, which right now the ones that we've been doing for employers that have 8 or less employees, the credit has been on average around $9,000, money out of the sky. Filing for PPP forgiveness without knowing how to properly ensure that you are communicating and electing to not include wages that you're using for the employee retention credit, we need to know that. Now, it's an obvious, you're going to probably pick wages that you are then not going to include in the PPP forgiveness, which is how it would need to work, including the other payroll tax credits. Meaning, whatever wages you have, if you're using them for any of the tax credits, you don't get to include them in the PPP forgiveness payroll. But what's different about the employee retention credit is that there's this extra step. Why? I don't know, right? But it's in the law. And that extra step is you have to make an election that those wages are not included in the PPP forgiveness. It's not an automatic is what I'm getting at. The wages during your covered period are automatically deemed for PPP forgiveness. The new law requires that you elect those wages out of PPP forgiveness to then use them for the employee retention credit. It's a technicality. That's what the laws are all about. Once we get SBA guidelines and IRS to let us know how this all works, then we'll know how to do it. I'm going to go ahead and say, if you're ready to get your employee retention tax credits calced, ready to rock, let's go. This is more on the why wait for PPP forgiveness. Now, if you've already applied for PPP forgiveness, I hope you made it to here, because you need to get with your bank as soon as these SBA guidelines come out. I'm sure it'll work itself out. But it needs to work itself out now on the IRS's side, because here's the weird part of the law when you read it as it is now, January 6th. That if you filed for PPP forgiveness, there is no way that you were able to elect the wages that you would otherwise want to use for the employee retention tax credit as wages not eligible or used for PPP forgiveness. I'll state it another way. You put in forgiveness, you got it forgiven, right? It's been given to the SBA. Whatever wages you put in there, they're now for PPP forgiveness, period. You locked them in. You locked them in for PPP forgiveness. Is it fair that you might be on the outside looking in? No, it's not fair. I feel like they're going to fix this technicality, but it's going to probably require some additional paperwork. So for those of you that have applied for forgiveness that have employees, again, none of this applies to the self-employed, but if you've applied for PPP forgiveness, just couldn't stand it, had to get it in. I've been saying all along, if you want to do it, but I'm waiting. So we still haven't put in one application for forgiveness. And this is one of the reasons why I just knew there was going to be more coming. But if you've already put in for PPP forgiveness, you're not at this time, in my opinion, able to get the employee retention tax credit on the wages that you included in the PPP forgiveness. Now, if you have wages that you paid that are not from PPP funds, you would be able to use those wages for the employee retention credit. Why? Because this is all about the wages during the covered period of PPP are deemed automatic, no choice of yours, as PPP qualified wages. You have to elect those wages out of PPP forgiveness somehow. That's what we need the SBA to tell us. So that you then make those wages eligible to be used for the employee retention credit. So if you haven't filed, don't wait. I don't understand. Honestly, I don't really understand the anxiousness over it. And probably it's because as a CPA, I've dealt with the U.S. government, state government, local governments my entire career. So I'm not overwhelmed by it. I'm not scared of it. I'm not unsure. I don't lose sleep over it. Getting an IRS letter doesn't worry or scare me or make me lose any sleep. So I get, probably for you, this is unique. It's different. You haven't dealt with this. You're convinced maybe that something could go wrong with it. Take a deep breath. There's not going to be anything that goes wrong with this. As you've seen, things have just gotten easier and easier, more in our favor and more in our favor and more in our favor. This is all working in our favor. So if you have employees, wait to file for PPP forgiveness. Even when the simplified certification comes out that you may feel you can just sign it and send it in. Well, if you do that, then any wages during the covered period will not be eligible for the employee retention credit unless you do whatever the SBA is going to tell us that we need to do to elect them out. We don't know what that technicality is. It very well could be that they're going to update the PPP forgiveness applications where you identify the wages that you're going to elect out of PPP forgiveness and then use for the employee retention credit. It might just be a check the box. But when the law indicates that you actually have to elect them out, we need to pause and make sure we know how to do that. So have we gone back and forth? Yeah, one time I said, hey, I'm going to do the PPP forgiveness applications right after the first of the year. But that was because I was waiting for the stimulus to pass. I at one point said, well, I'm going to do them after tax season. Well, that was actually when we had a difference of knowing when the payments began and various aspects of when the application is due. So I will tell you this. If you're frustrated with all this, what you need to be frustrated with is not the information you're getting from me. What you need to be frustrated with is nothing. There's no reason to be frustrated. No offense, if you got PPP, at this point, you got free money to cover expenses. You don't have to pay back, and it has no tax effect. You have no room to be frustrated. None. This employee retention tax credit, money out of the sky. You have no room to be frustrated. What we should be is thankful, grateful. If you don't need it and you didn't take it, okay. If you don't believe in it, okay. But if you qualify for these things, take a deep breath. Just relax. Okay? Nothing really is going to happen where ultimately you can't do something unless you do something, right? You locked it. You sealed it by filing for forgiveness. Yes, and I've already said it twice. I'm sure they're going to find a way to untangle that for you, but what does it do now? It's delaying you from easily getting the employee retention credit. With my clients, and for those of you that have waited, we can go take the employee retention credit. Well, you said, wait a second, JJ, you just said, well, we have to elect those wages out of PPP. We do. We're gonna. But I have to do that on or before when we file for PPP forgiveness. So I already know I'm going to elect those out. So I can go get the employee retention credit for me and my clients. Then when the PPP forgiveness application's updated, we know how to make the election. Well, we make the election because I already know we're making the election. So at the end of the day, should you wait to file for PPP forgiveness? If you have employees, as I said at the beginning, yes, because I do think that most of you are going to qualify for this employee retention credit. And the only reason I chuckle is that that is massive out of the Stimulus Act. It is massive. I'm calling my clients and I'm saying, hey, you're almost getting 10 grand back. What? Yeah. Here's the dates we were closed. So I'm going to put a link in here to, well, I take that back. I'm not going to put a link in here because some of you will go to the link and then you'll comment later, well, that link isn't updated yet, or that link doesn't have the new information yet. So the reason I say that is I was going to give you a link to the IRS website. So if you're curious, you could still do this. But they have a massive amount of information on the IRS website about the employee retention credit. The only thing is that the IRS hasn't updated it for the stimulus. And so really everything's going to work the same as what the IRS has. It's just going to be updated to indicate that you can take it even if you got PPP. It's going to be updated to indicate that you can take the retroactive employee retention credit either on a 941 for fourth quarter or on the Form 7200. The key here, as I've put in other videos, is that you can't file a Form 7200, which is how you get the credit more easily, in my opinion, if you've already filed Form 941. So I had another email that, or another video that said, do this now ASAP. Tell your, whoever's doing your payroll to hold their horses and not file Form 941 because we need to figure out if you qualify for the credit. What is the credit? Submit the Form 7200. Why? Because you cannot submit Form 7200 if you've already submit Form 941. Both are due by February 1st. So we have time for that. So a little bit of patience on this as well. Let the IRS catch up. This was all signed into law on the 28th. We've had holiday. And at the end of the day, the IRS and SBA, I'm sure, are working overtime to get us all this information. So as I've said from the beginning, patience is a virtue. Relax, it's okay. Remember what I've told you. When I'm putting together these videos, for those of you that think I'm doing it for the views, then you haven't been watching very long. Okay? Because while I am a YouTuber and I can't tell you how much I appreciate having over 52,000 subscribers, mostly because I can tell my clients like, wow, look at what's going on. Oh my gosh. I'm a practicing CPA. I do this literally for fun. This is not how I make a living. I squeeze in doing this because I love it. I love it. And I love it that you're listening. I love it that you come and want to hear what I have to say, or what my opinions are, or how I can help. I love that. I mean, I love it. That's what I get out of this, is helping. Sounds corny, but it's just true. So that's why you'll see that a lot of my videos, they come out at midnight. Why? Because I've been taking care of clients and my other businesses and all the other things that I'm doing all day. But that's how much I love this, is that I'm staying up late. You know, I know you don't really probably care, other than the wonderful, beautiful people that have been with me forever. But, you know, I was up till 2 a.m. last night and up at 6 a.m. this morning. Why? Because I love it. 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 So anyways, at the end of the day, thanks for tuning in. Love it if you'd subscribe, and then wait to file your PPP forgiveness if you have an employee. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. Stay tuned.